Hey, what is going on? I'm Corey. I run a five-figure AI automation business, and today we're in our last phase of implementing a business automation to get you from starting all the way to liberation. So today we're going to discuss owner liberation, how we get away from the business essentially, and ensure that we keep scaling the revenue, the staff, just the whole enterprise, whilst maybe not even in this country. So sounds like something you're into. Let's jump straight into it. So, as we just said, owner liberation, we've gone through everything in here. We've done our foundation clarity, we've captured our efficiency holes, we've increased our revenue, hopefully 3, 4, 5 times, 5x. And then we've also worked out how to deliver it on scale. So, really, the next step that we have left is this owner liberation. Now, anyone, if you're an entrepreneur or you have your own business of some sort, you'll know this is a very true picture. There's very rare times that you can actually get away from it. Like you're going to need to put in some sort of work every single day, which is fine. That's the nature of our industry, I guess. But there is stuff you can implement to reduce the amount. So possibly you go away and you only need maybe 1 hour a day to just check in on stuff, make sure it's all running fine. Any emergency fires. But then if you have like a VA, they can always escalate stuff to you. So this is the goal of where we're trying to go. And now, if you've watched all the 5-part series, we're at this point where we can start exiting the company in terms of letting it run on autopilot and either starting a new vertical, get some extra cash coming in, or we want to just start retiring. So when this phase is the last, but it's also where true scaling begins. So we're no longer the operator, and we become this architect. We become this strategist of just putting pieces in place. What we need to do is remove ourselves from the whole delivery process without breaking the system. A lot of owners, the moment they leave their business, they instantly it just falls down, it just breaks, like some cards. So what's breaking at scale? Most businesses and a lot of people, they say, oh no, it's not me, but they are still the bottleneck, whether it's delegation issues, whether it's he can't do the job as well as me, whether it's no, I don't want to take on this client because of X reason or some personal vendetta. There's always some sort of bottleneck, and it usually starts with the owner. A common one is tasks aren't tracked or handed off. So the owners will be, I don't want to give up this. This is my piece. This is my work. And then what happens is we operate in silos, right? So the owner might say, no, I want to hold onto client management maybe. And then the admin people might say, no, I want to hold on to this, I don't know, maybe like an onboarding sequence. They want to continue doing that. But realistically, like these can be done over there, right? Client relationship can be done by ops people, for example, here. So you could hand that, and really the onboarding stuff can be handed over here. So what happens is the owner usually is the starting of the bottleneck, and then staff follows, obviously, because of leadership. And you don't want the silos. No reporting on capacity or outcomes. You'll be surprised at the amount of businesses that don't report on capacity. So a very good rule is, 30%, 33%, 1/3 of resources going into staff, like lead generation, 1/3 of resources going into ops, so admin stuff, and then 1/3 as profit going into either elsewhere reinvested or into the owner's pocket, really. So there's no capacity. So then the moment they go down to do like their monthly, quarterly reporting, what happens is they say, oh no, we're at capacity. But you ask them about the numbers and they don't know. You say, okay, so how much capacity? What percentage are we at? Are we at 80, 90, 100? Can we take on extra? Do we need, if we free up this one process, do we increase capacity by 20% to take on more clients? So capacity and outcome become very important in this phase. And new clients is more people coming in and um, not more leverage. So people often say, I just can't take on any more clients if I leave the business. It works perfectly fine how it is. But yeah. So how do we fix this? Now, these aren't sexy automations like you'd see elsewhere. These are purely operational necessities. So you can step away from the business, so you can start running it on complete autopilot, and your time is starting to get liberated and free. We have task and project automation. A huge portion of any founder or any business owner is um, a task and project automation, managing the tasks for the day, for the team, for the projects that are running. Are we running on time? Is it running smoothly? And it's like usually the owner will have the task board here, the project management board, and then he shifts it out to person A and person B. And it's not the case for all of them, but I would say about 90% of clients I've worked with all do this. So we need to automate this here so this person can step away, right? So how do we do this? ClickUp has built-in automations. Notion has built-in automations. Trello has built-in automations. And what this can just be is simple stage notifications like we spoke about yesterday. When Susan gets done with hers, it automates into Greg, and then it fires off the notification and the assignment of this task to Greg. Now, these are very, very simple to operate. They're very much like a if X happens, Y will occur, and they're built into these programs, and it's built for simplicity. So you don't need a external for very simple ones. You don't need external platforms such as Make or Zapier or N8N for this. You also have delegation systems. So when a new task comes into the board, there should be, an SOP for this. So when Greg gets it, maybe there's an SOP or there's a delegation. So we know that when it swaps, maybe it's not a status change. Maybe it's like a new client coming into the system. So this client coming in here might be sales. And then that's our delegation system. So the owner might close it here. And then into here, this delegation will automatically happen to sales. This could fire off with when the contract gets signed. It then detects a make scenario similar to an onboarding and then assigns to a certain person. Or when this hits the end one and everything is completed, maybe then it goes back to the owner to say completed or customer management. Internal dashboards for project status. This is very similar to using these dashboards. Obviously, you have extras like Monday.com, but there needs to be some sort of progress status. So when it's coming into this dashboard here, we can track the status and it's moving down the stages for the internal staff. We should also have KPI scorecards for team output. So, we can track metrics, especially on systems like ClickUp. We can track how many X person has closed. And what you can actually do is you can create a dashboard, for like last 30 days and pretty much a sales dashboard for everything. And we can put all our KPIs in here that are automatically detecting stuff like this. So people often say, we need a really fancy dashboard I need to use, like Looker Studio and everything. But even to this day, I still use the ClickUp custom dashboard I've made through there for all of our business activities. So I have revenue generated in the last 30 days, monthly recurring revenue, yearly recurring revenue, total revenue for the whole year, customer acquisition values, marketing spend. Everything is just in this single dashboard. Next one, builder access workflows plus credential vaults. Huge one. We'll go through these in a second, but we need access to all the credentials. And this isn't super important if you're running like a plumbing or a trade business or something like that. But there needs to be a vault for security and for also a single person. So often someone will sign a client here, and then this person maybe needs a username and password plus password. And what happens is it just sits in this guy's inbox, or maybe he's got it, but he never gives it to this person as well. So there needs to be a credential vault where everyone can then access it within the team, obviously. So that way, when the owner signs someone or the sales team signs someone, we all have access. Now, I quickly mentioned these before, but I'll just go through them again. Our suggested stack for all of this. Now, this is only just suggested. It doesn't have to be your one. You can change. I use a lot of this stuff for my own, so I've put it in there. So ClickUp, sort of a tool project management style. You'll need something to store SOPs. Notion is obviously the best. Notion and Google Docs. So I use Docs for the creating the SOPs. And then it goes into Notion to store the Google Doc. Store Notion. The reason we do this is ChatGPT writes the SOP for this. So I record a screen recording. ChatGPT will turn it into a template that I have preset in there for the SOPs, and then the make.com, once I save it into a certain file, make.com will then transfer it into Notion. Task automations, obviously we've gone through this. Zapier, make.com, depending on level of technical knowledge. Internal CRM. Now, this doesn't have to be a proper CRM like Go High Level or HubSpot or anything. You can get away with Airtables. Usually you're going to have Airtable implemented somewhere to store a database, but it's okay like that. You can also use ClickUp for majority of this stuff. So, some of our SOPs in here for our project management is in ClickUp as well. So just by having this one platform, I have project management, I have SOPs, and I have an internal CRM, and in a sense, team comms as well. So team comms, we obviously want some sort of thing. I use Slack because I can create custom channels for different people, but just an async for SOPs. Now, what is important is you ideally want to go for something that can be integrated with automation. You want Slack, WhatsApp, Telegram to a degree, solely because then we can actually start automating using make.com, so we can do summary reports. And this has happened before, if your team has like 100 messages, which they shouldn't, but if they're sending like 100 messages back and forth, we can do an end of day report for using GPT to pull all conversation or all records within the conversation, and then we can just summarize it and give it to the owner. They spent 100 messages to say that Cindy is doing X task. So you want something that sort of syncs with this make.com. And then obviously access control, one password is the most common one. I personally use Bitwarden and just find it's a little bit easier in everything else. So finally, you don't want to make these mistakes. You don't want to hire before documenting. So you don't want to hire, possibly you're starting to work on your exit out of the company. You don't want to hire, a COO, for example, without everything being documented. And I know it's logically that makes sense, but you'll be surprised how many people would just instantly hire without documenting at all. You want to have a central dashboard for lost tasks. So you want to make sure that every task is recorded, everyone has a place and everything on there. Relying on Slack instead of systems. A lot of this is associated with people just doing jobs based on there. So Cindy posts in Slack, hey, done my job, your job now, which is fine if you have like a project management system so everyone can see it. But a lot of people, they sort of take the exit and then they just operate in Slack. So the owner, they're still there because they're getting these Slack messages being like, can you do this and this? There's no builder intake process. So builder is obviously referring to automation, but there's no staff intake process, or like onboarding new staff, anything like that, because obviously you're going to bring new staff in. If you're exiting and we're still scaling up, we need systems to bring these staff in. And finally, the biggest one that everyone just has, I don't know what it is, they just want to hold on to it, I guess. The founder approval required for everything. Now, in a perfect world, in an unbiased, I don't want to say non-human, that's the wrong word, but in an unbiased world, right, you could get away with a pretty solid, approval system just using some sort of AI language model, right? And so all your decisions should be operating on certain factors, certain variables. So we could implement the variables into a system. Hell, you could even make a dashboard where, I just thought of this top of my head, but you can make a dashboard where staff can input what they want for approval, and then it can output an approval or not. So you can say, can I send this email to this client, and then paste the email. And then you could always get a ChatGPT module to assess it on the back end, based on your criteria on what you could do a scoring system and then write back and say, yes, that's okay. And this could be, you could do a portal, you could do SOPs for decision making. There's lots of ways you can do it, but the founder shouldn't be approving everything, especially if you think about it. If it's completely unbiased and strategic point of views and strategic decision making, then why would they approve it? Wouldn't everyone else be able to approve it? Wouldn't I be able to give it to the receptionist and they just go through the checklist? And if 8 out of 10 are ticked, then that's approved. So strategically and logically, it doesn't make sense if we have a very systematic approach to our business. So finally, if you want to scale, this is just a reminder, we need to automate the who does what by when. This is incredibly important. We need to build systems that train people without you. If a new hire comes on for the new COO and then they hire someone else, we need systems that train. We need a intake system. We need SOPs, and we need getting started documents for these people. We need just something to constantly train, and all this can be very, very easily automated. And we need let dashboards, not DMs, drive your decisions. We need oversight and statistical analysis of everything we do. There shouldn't be any sort of DMs happening, especially if you exit, because the moment you exit, then you're still locked in, right? So the only thing worse than being busy is scaling chaos. And this is very much true. If you can scale and it's not chaos and you're busy, that's completely fine. Like, that's easy stuff. It's a system, right? But it's when you come in and there's, a fire over here, fire there, fire here. It's hard to sort of delegate and implement all your systems to work. So, and then when we go to exit, scaling chaos is very, very hard to control. You sort of need to put all these fires out before you actually step away from the business. So I hope that covers it. That's all I wanted to do for the last part. It's not a huge portion of the work, because really we've got, the deliveries here going up and the revenues coming in. We've already worked out how to be efficient. We've already got plugged all the holes so nothing should break. So really, if you put in the terms of like a sales team, let's go an admin team and a marketing team, maybe not admin team, let's go an ops team. What this is setting up this structure where you have the 3 people and then the owner gets to step away over here. Is that how he just steps? It looks like he's peeing a little. But we set these systems up so these can operate, because these are the main 3 parts of every single business, right? So the elaboration ideally is automating and helping this run on autopilot while you step away and you maybe put 1 hour max into this. So that should conclude our 5-part business automation. And really, if you go from start to finish, there's no reason why you couldn't step away with tens of thousands per month of revenue coming in, especially as the revenue systems scale and delivery are scaling as well. And then these guys are scaling as well. So this goes to like 1, and then we have 2 sales reps and 1 and 2. It's a it's very it's very simple, and really we spoke about everything in here. We just spoke about basic implementations. This doesn't go into very detailed stuff like web scraping or competitor analysis, for example. But just using this simple systems that we've gone through in all 5, it shows you how automation doesn't have to be sexy. It can just be very simple, does the job. It has an ROI for every automation that we do, and it can still lead to the end goal of being liberated from the business. So I hope you've enjoyed this series. If there's any part of it you want me to clarify, put them down in the comments. I'm going to leave it here, and we'll start moving on to another topic. But if you have any questions, comments, or send me a email. My email address and the business for Blacklight is in the description. Otherwise, like and subscribe, and I'll see you all tomorrow.